Let's get some more analysis and bring in John Ryan, who is a professor and network research fellow over at the Center for Economic Studies at the University of Munich. He joins us now on the program. John, good to have you on the show. I'd like to start off our interview with your assessment of where we stand today. I mean, how many of the goals of the original goals of the European Union do you think have been met since the signing of the Maastricht Treaty?
I think that it was a watershed event, and it is very complicated, these issues. But I think the most important aspect of the Maastricht Treaty, which was a success, was the creation of the euro. The single currency managed by the European Central Bank was a solution for the promise of Europe to be kept. And the euro and the European Central Bank has shown itself to be able to deal with crises. The Eurozone crisis, the dot-com bubble, the global financial crisis, and the recent pandemic. But the Maastricht Treaty created an incomplete, rigid, and austerity-prone fiscal policy. And that's really where you've got problems. As your journalist just before identified, there are distributional conflicts going on, and some parts of the European Union are not doing so well. So there is a case, I think, for more centralization of fiscal policy so that you have a financial transfer system that would be able to help more than what we have at the moment at the European Union level, those parts and those regions and those people who are not doing as well as the core.
Another thing that may not be doing so well is the unity, or at least the political unity amongst the bloc members when it comes to dealing with particular crisis that it's confronted.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a zero-sum game for a lot of countries. Obviously, you've had the United Kingdom leaving because it felt that, it was not able to function in that system, although I would have some other remarks about that particular issue. But on foreign policy and defense policy, the problem for Europe is they're not a player. They're not a hard power in that sense. As I mentioned, the euro as a currency is a hard power in the financial community. But when it comes to dealing with defense and foreign policy, Europe is fragmented, and there are only certain countries who've got any kind of capability to exert and be an ally, for example, to the United States. But it's still pretty small, and there seems to be a lack of will in the population in general, but also by political leaders in these countries to be able to come to terms with the fact that they will need that kind of harder power. Germany being one of those countries which is struggling at the moment. The coalition is struggling at the moment with the Russian crisis.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, what do you think the main challenges that the European Union is facing, especially with the tensions rising on the eastern flank?
Well, on the eastern flank, obviously Baltic countries, Poland, etc., are very, very concerned. But you've got other countries that may kind of block any systematic sanction process, even though there's kind of majority voting, for example, like Hungary. So the coordinated response is not possible. So it's a coalition of the willing, those countries that are willing to actually help those countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, countries on the border there that might be unduly affected. And everyone sort of knows globally, China, Russia, US, knows that, you can pick and choose some of your coalition allies or friends within the European Union, because at the moment there's no coherent foreign policy or defense policy. And that is a weakness for the European Union. That is something that was never really addressed since Maastricht. And if it was addressed, it was in a very lukewarm way, because you had the lowest common denominator. People didn't want to move too fast in that area, and they wanted to keep their national competences over their defense and foreign policy. So they were not willing to dilute their own sovereignty as they saw it in actually activating those particular policy areas.
All right, John Ryan, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Pleasure having you on the show.